Hi, and thank you for listening to Dream 10X Radio, where we interview people attempting to live extraordinary lives. Our twofold purpose is to both direct and inspire people bold enough to do the same. Dream 10X. Face your fears and make your life count.
Hey there, Dream 10X Land. Hi, James.
Hello, Dr. Capel. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Episode 23. What are we talking about tonight?
Guess what I did today?
I give up.
I played with cows.
Holy cow.
What are they doing?
They're outstanding in their field. That delivery was not good, but whatever.
It's my favorite joke of all time.
Cows. What were you doing with cows today?
Well, my sister owns Avoca Farm out of Paris, Virginia, and they have an organic cow farm with Angus and Wagyu cows. And she had
What is that? What are those?
Big, black, beautiful beasts. Some with horns, some not. And they're delicious.
So many questions. I have so many questions. So,
which I cannot answer.
You cannot answer. Okay. All right. Well, we'll just let go.
We're going to ask about the cows?
Yeah. Like, what's a Wagyu? What's an Angus? What's different about them? What do the horns mean?
Oh, that none of that I can answer for you.
Okay. All right.
Horses I got. So, Karen needed some help on the farm because it was just her today. And so we had to figure out the entire feeding schedule for about 100 herds. And ended up...
100 herds?
100 herds, 100 cows.
100 head?
100 head.
Okay. Is that one herd or multiple herds?
Multiple herds.
Multiple herds of cattle, 100 head, and a mix of Wagyu and Angus.
Yes.
Some with horns, some without.
Yes, and some babies, and some mamas, and some pregnant mamas, and some who are going to be on our plates very soon.
And some bulls, right?
And some bulls, yep. Yeah.
So, okay, what happened? Tell me about it.
Oh my God, it was amazing. So Karen, we got up at 6:30, and then we had to go through the feeding chart to figure out what some of the coding meant. And so there's specific coding and...
Coding? What coding? You writing code for cows?
Well, when you look at... Yeah, so when you look at it, it says...
Computer code for cows.
It is. So you look at it, it says 17, fats.
What are you looking at?
So looking at a feed chart. But we had to decode the feed chart.
A feed chart that has codes on it that tells your sister and whoever how to feed the cows.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So we had to decode that.
Well, who wrote it? Who wrote the codes?
So Karen was told by somebody else and was trying to write it all down. So she wrote it down, and then we had to figure out what she meant. So it was processing for the first, because this is the first time she's had to feed. So we had to process what all of it actually meant, and then how to calculate how many buckets. And each bucket holds 30 pounds.
What's in a bucket?
Feed. And there's different kinds of feed. So there's non-GMO feed, so non-GMO. And then there's power.
GMO means genetically modified organism.
Yes, the bad stuff. So it has none of the bad stuff in it.
We don't want genetically modified stuff.
No. And then there's another feed that has different stuff in it. That's called power something. Power stripes, power PS.
Which is GMO.
No, it's not GMO, but it's a different, more nutrition type food.
More nutritional food.
Yeah. But it looks exactly the same. So this was, if you are an organization that is looking for team building on how to communicate, how to solve complex problems in completely ambiguous environments, this is the activity for you.
Feeding cows?
Feeding cows.
Oh, because of the ambiguity involved and trying to figure out as a newcomer, newbie cattle rustler, how to take care of the cows?
How to take care of them, how many buckets, how many pounds in a bucket, how many buckets you need, how to not mix up the feed when it looks exactly the same. So we ended up color coding the buckets.
And there's different kinds of cows too, so they probably eat differently, right?
They do.
And could you tell the difference between an Angus cow and a Wagyu?
I couldn't. Karen can, but I'm new.
Did they effectively look the same?
To me, they looked The one was a little hairier than the other, but there's no way I could tell them apart.
That's why
it was. Yeah, that's what she pointed out, and it had little horns. The only one I can tell completely apart is the Highland Coo.
Does she have those?
Yeah, so we didn't end up feeding those today because they're on hay, and they're up at the top. Those are the ones that I was hanging out with the other day when walked in the snowstorm.
I didn't know they had those here.
Yeah, she has too. Yeah.
Cool.
And one of the Highland Coos has a baby coo. It's very cute.
Oh, that's cool. Do you know anything about why they have this mix of breeds?
I think the Highland Coos were for pets, and then the Angus and the Wagyu they bought for beef. And now they're crossbreeding the Angus and the Wagyu because the Wagyu are really, really delicate. And so to produce a beautifully tasting steak that with a heartier cow, it's more sustainable to have that mix. So they're starting to, but she still has some pure Wagyu out there.
So back to feed. Let's go back. Where do you get cow food?
So I think you order it from like southern states, or those kind of like big farm places, and then they come and deliver it. So she has 2 large bins. So she has an equipment trailer and 2 very large bins that holds the non-GMO feed. And so you lift up a little handle and the feed just comes pouring out. And
is it a silo? Is it like a grain silo of food, or?
They have 2 grain silos, and that's the other place where they keep the power feed.
Power feed, okay.
The PS, power feed. And that one, it's automatic, but it's broken at the moment, so we had to go in and hand maneuver the lever. And again, great team building exercise. So her teammate Jessica stood on the left side, Karen crawled underneath, and I stood on the right side. So I'd hand Karen a bucket, and the grain would start pouring out. And then as soon as it hit the top, she'd flip it out and move it to Jessica while I was moving the bucket underneath to catch the grain. Yep. Okay. And Jessica would move it to the truck. So it was like this beautifully smooth transition.
But I'm sure grain spilled or food spilled on the floor, right, in that process?
Not the way we did it, because it was a very smooth, efficient operation.
Could you stop the flow of the food?
Not easily, because you have to put the lever manually back down because it happens to be broken at the moment. Yeah. Okay. Normally it would just automatically do it. So that was fun. Yeah. And then the one in the shed with the GMO, there's 3 buckets, and then a lot spilled in a larger bucket, so you'd have to scoop and fill up to the top.
Okay, so you've put food in these buckets, and then these are just like regular water buckets that you would use to like wash a car or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they're 30 pounds of food each.
30 pounds of food per bucket.
Yep. And so in order to calculate, which I thought was interesting, I'm like, so Karen, how do you know you're empty? She's like, I don't even know.
How you're empty?
How the grain silo is empty.
Yeah.
So obviously you can climb to this top of this, 10-story building and look in, but it's more of a math calculation. So you know how much grain you have, and then you know how much you're feeding.
It's not 10 stories, is it?
I don't know. It's really, really high.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bit taller than the barn.
Yeah.
But everything's big to me because I'm really short.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can crawl up to the top and look down, but you're supposed to have the math calculation. You know how much food is in there. You know how much you're taking out, and so you know every 8 days you need to get more food ordered or whatever.
Is it 8 days?
No, it's more than that. I was just throwing a number out there.
Okay. Huh,
but yeah, it was really interesting.
30 pounds a bucket. That's pretty heavy.
Yeah, and so my deadlifts were wildly helpful. Because it was pretty easy to pick them both up and move them back and forth.
Two buckets at a time.
Yep.
And then what do you do with the buckets once you get the food in them?
Yeah, so we drive out to where the pens are, and there's different pens.
Well, wait, you take you fill up the bucket,
and then you put it in the back of the truck.
Okay, so you've got a Ford or F-150 or 250.
Yeah, farm truck. Yeah.
Farm truck with a flatbed, and you throw these buckets in the back.
Yeah.
And then you drive out to the paddock or whatever you call it.
Up to the different paddock areas, and so they separate the cows based on needs. So again, the fats are the ones that are going to harvest, so they get a lot more food because we need to fatten them up right before they become steak. And then there's the mamas and the babies, and they get a special circumstance. So there's a whole feeding process and calculation, which I do not know, but there is a master rancher who was helping Karen determine all of that, and he's the one who said this is how we need to move forward. And then we had the babies. And the babies were so cute. So we have a Great Dane, and the babies were about her size, and they were a little skittish, but they were less skittish than the big cows. And then there's just one little baby, and she just came up and you gave me kisses and lots of love. And
tell me you did not kiss a cow.
Yep, maybe. She gave me a kiss.
Well, if we don't get COVID, I'll get mad cow disease or something like that.
No, she's cute.
So how was feeding? Why did you have to feed babies? Why doesn't the mother feed the baby?
So once you wean them, then once they're weaned, then they need grain to survive. Weaned? That means they stop sucking on the mom's teat.
Oh, so you were feeding them grain, not milk.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Except for the one baby who, obviously, so Karen has ones called pink tags. And the pink tags are the ones that are super friendly and end up just as pets.
Why?
Why?
Why would you make a cow a pet?
Because they're super friendly, why wouldn't you make a cow a pet?
If it has a great personality, we're making it a pet.
Yeah, exactly. Because then they're fun and they're still part of the herd and part of the family. And
really?
Yeah, for real.
So the cow will just get old here and not be slaughtered.
Yeah, like Karen's special pet, Agent 35, that she's had ever since they moved here. Agent 35 is beautiful. She's a big black cow, and she's got a white face. She's gorgeous. And Karen's even ridden her bareback more than once.
Never to be slaughtered, just to hang out in the field. And...
just hang out and be a cow and get loved. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And Binky, the one that I fed today, is going to be the same. So I actually got to hand feed with a bottle one of the babies. So
I'm curious, what's the cutoff to not go to slaughter? What are the characteristics of the cow that make it
like a big dog? Aside? Like a big dog comes up, loves you, says, "I love you, pet me, let's hang out." Versus the ones that are skittish.
How do they keep it distinct from the rest of the herd?
They literally have a pink tag on their hair.
Oh, pink tag. Okay.
Yeah. Saying, no, I'm a keeper. I'm a pet.
How many pink tags are there?
I don't know. I think there's like 5.
Oh, okay.
So it's not as significant. Obviously, the Highlands are pink.
Okay. Is that a business decision or it just doesn't seem like whatever. Okay, there's pink tags. Cool.
Well, especially like if you have people coming to visit, you want some cows that people can interact with versus.
Okay.
I mean, because this is an educational farm too. Yeah, people come here to learn.
You don't want them petting the mean cows. You want some nice cows.
Yeah, don't go pet the bulls.
Do the bulls eat something different?
No, they just eat less.
They eat less?
Mm-hmm.
Why would they eat less? I would think they would eat more or something high in testosterone or something high in protein.
Yeah, no, they eat the grain, but it's just less of it. So they like, I think, then you have to keep the bulls like unless they're with a herd of heifers. You have to keep them one-on-one or else they'll try and fight each other. So there's 2 bulls in one pen and then 1 bull in another and then 1 bull with the heifers.
Did you go in the pen with the bulls?
Karen went in the pen with the bulls themselves. I went in the pen with the bull with the heifers.
Oh, wow.
And he was like looking at you.
Yeah.
And I looked at him back. And then I backed away slowly. I said, "I'm going to feed you now and put some food in your trough and back away slowly."
Wow. Okay, so all of these buckets full of food are in the back of the truck. You drive up to the field or paddock or whatever. Is it paddock or field or what do you call it?
So for horses, it's a paddock. For cows, I'm not really sure.
Field?
That's a good question.
And then there's just a trough out there?
Yeah, it's like a metal long trough.
Mm-hmm.
So you start on one end, you start pouring on one end, and make sure you pour evenly all the way across the trough.
With each bucket?
With each bucket.
Is the intent to fill the trough all the way up?
Fill it all the way up and evenly across, or else the bigger cows will eat it all and push away the small cows. So you need to make sure the trough is long enough and it's even all the way across so the small cows can get in there too.
And, okay. So you fill it up?
Yep.
And how do you fill it up when I'm sure the cows are like starting to eat as soon as you put the first bit of food in. How do you keep the cows away while you're filling it up?
You know, it's really interesting. They are not super excited about humans. And as soon as you walk towards them, they're like, whoa! And they start backing away slowly. Just like we do with the bulls. So they like scatter when you walk towards. They're not so hence why the ones who really like humans and want to come up and say, you bit me! They want a pink tag to keep around for, interaction, human interaction, and education purposes.
So that willingness to approach a human is a somewhat unique character trait in a cow.
Yes, exactly.
What a smart evolution. I wonder if they knew about that.
That's what Karen says all the time. Like the ones who say, yep.
Kiss the ring.
The one who says, I do not want to be steak.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I popped out when we took a break for a minute and asked Karen the difference between Wagyu and Angus and how you actually tell the difference. And she said Wagyu are a little bit smaller and more delicate. And she did say some have horns, some don't, but they're definitely more delicate and they're a little bit more brown than the Angus. So I thought that was interesting too. And they're the meat that she's selling now is the F1, so it's the actual crossbreeding and half between Wagus and Angus. Wagyu.
It's a Wangus.
It's a Wangus. Wagyu and Angus. Yep.
No rationale between why some cows have horns and others don't? Is it just like a hair versus no hair?
I'm sure an actual cowboy would know, or a cowgirl.
Oh.
But the cow Cindy has no idea.
Yeah. It's interesting. I grew up in San Antonio, and as a kid, I always wanted, when I grew up, I always wanted to own a ranch. And I wanted a whole herd of long-horned cattle. Yeah, so there is a large management aspect to that.
Oh, yeah.
And you want to make sure you get it right, because you can make expensive mistakes.
Absolutely.
Mistakes. Get it?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. So it was really exciting and fun and just so energizing. Like I have not been this energized in a long time. And I could totally see working here full time.
Yeah.
Doing this. Like waking up every morning, getting with a team, doing this process, feeding the cows, having that immediate satisfaction of getting things done quickly in an outdoor environment and working with, I really miss working with animals. I didn't realize how much I miss that.
Well, you have a history of animal care, right?
True. I was in the vet industry for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed, I was surprised after I talked with you at the end of the day how energized you were, and excited to be working with animals and doing this. I'm shocked. I'm happy to see you that much energy coming from you.
Yeah, normally at the end of the day I'm like, oh my God, can we go to bed yet?
Fascinating.
Yeah. So just being outside and being with nature and being with...
And it's cold and wind. I mean, it's blowing probably 20 knots today.
And it's like 28 degrees. And it's snowing. And I loved every minute.
Really?
Yeah. I could do this every day and be completely happy.
Are you sure about that?
Be more... Yeah, I totally could. I mean, obviously there would be days, but... Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like so when we talk about Saira and building land and castles and having animals out there, like, good, I'm good. So it's cool. Like, I got excited about the horses, obviously, because that's kind of my genre.
Oh, yeah.
And
there's horses?
Well, she has 2 minis and a donkey.
What purpose do these horses serve here on this farm?
So the donkey has been here. It came with the farm, and she's really old and she's really awesome. And she was the nanny to an Olympic horse that passed away 3 or 4 years ago.
What about the 2 minis? What purpose do they serve?
Yeah, so when horses can't be alone. They're part of a herd. Mm-hmm. So when the Olympic horse passed away, they needed another horse for the donkey.
So the 2 minis make up 1 horse?
Well, yeah, kind of. So they ended up with one of the minis a few years ago, and then recently Karen procured another piece of land, and with that came another mini.
Okay.
So she's new. Princess is new. Princess is super cute. And so yes. And so now she has, the 2 minis and the donkey.
Okay, so, and they're here just to keep the donkey happy, and the donkey's there to keep, so it's kind of a recursive relationship.
It's a big herd, yes.
Okay.
It's a big family.
Just to keep everybody happy.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's cool. And you were just equally as happy.
Oh, I was in heaven. So it was just an absolutely amazing day. It was the teamwork with the kids and Karen and I, and then Jessica tonight because we had to feed again this evening. And like just how we all worked together, like a smooth operation, and got these animals fed, and again solved complex problems, and really worked with the animals, and it was just the most rewarding thing I've done in a long time.
I'm so glad. You just are beaming and full of energy,
happy.
And I'm really glad to see that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So 100 head of cattle you fed twice today.
Yes.
With basically 3 people.
Yes.
3 people and some kids.
And about 225 pounds per feeding.
225 pounds of food per feeding.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that much.
It's a lot of buckets.
You've been through this process as a first timer.
Yep.
I think your sister kind of has 2 today.
Yeah.
What are your takeaways for how to improve it? How to improve the profit?
Yeah,
process?
So automation.
Automate?
The buckets are not efficient. If there was, and apparently there is a system that you can put in the back of a pickup that you would drive through and put it in the buckets versus doing the manual labor. But at the same time, the manual labor is what I like. But
Yeah. You like getting that workout.
Yeah, and making sure all the equipment actually is functional, I think would make a significant difference. Like the silo didn't work. We had to go in and manually do that.
Yeah, and that your equipment has to work or it just sucks up your time.
Yeah, totally.
And there's a lot to do around the farm.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here just like, oh my God, I can't believe how much work there is.
We all did this, and I did an 8-hour workday and my actual job.
Yeah. So it seemed like with the feed silo that if you could just dump it, if you could just like open a thing and it would come out into the bed of the truck.
Yeah.
And then having some mechanism to take it from the truck and put it in the trough without having to fill these individual buckets. That seems like a labor-intensive, time-intensive task.
That would be significantly more efficient.
Well, I'm just pulling stuff out of them.
No, it's right. It would be significantly more efficient.
What about the codes on the feeding codes? Is there any way you could like improve that process?
Technology would help with that too. And
if
you had the feeding codes that you put into a system, like some sort of computer system, and had it attached to this thing that's going to immediately, you could type in this.
You could type in.
So
on the feed schedule.
we're in number 17. We're in pasture number 17. So you just hit the button 17, and you already processed in whatever feed that needs to happen. So you just pull up, and it would automatically 17 gets 225 pounds of feed. So it launches that.
Interesting. Anyway, just walked in, and we're trying to get her to tell us more about her farm.
Well, that was
feeding.
It was very fun because it was Cindy, me, and then we tortured my kid, and then in the afternoon we had another badass bitch with beef join us, and so that was particularly fun. So it was the 3 of us. It was kind of kooky, in a good way.
How could you make the whole process more efficient?
When you see these troughs, it's a setup, and I can't remember the exact name because it's brand new to me, but they replace the fence, and then they're on like a slide, and so you start the trough at, let's say, the south side of the pasture on the fence, and then your truck has this mechanism attached. And so you feed from the truck with it's some type of small hydraulic system. And so you have this arm extended and the feed comes out, so that really becomes a one-man operation easily without having to haul 942 pounds to every pasture by 30-pound buckets.
So what would it take you to get one of these automated things?
Well, last I heard is, number one, I need to contact, it's the Virginia, either Department of Forestry or one of our government entities that takes care of farmers, and they have all the information. And fortunately, through our cattle manager, who is a genius, shout out to Lindsay Easton, Benvenue Farms.
Hey.
And
is this a friend of yours who's helping you?
This is it's a friend. He's been working for the company for a few years, actually, and he is the guru of how to take care of cattle. if they're healthy, if they're not healthy, how much weight they're gaining just by looking at them, separating them as they grow to make sure, minimize fighting, and that there's some of the, obviously, as Cindy mentioned, some of the animals have horns, and so they get into fights. You got to make sure that they're safe, all that. So he knows everything that you would ever need to know about everything related to farming. And he's raised cattle his whole life. He runs it for many farms. He consults with many farms. And
is he local to Virginia?
Oh yeah, he's Benvenue Farm over in Washington.
Washington?
Little Washington.
What is that? Where is that?
Where the Little Washington is. It's that way, Rappahannock County.
Oh, okay, Rappahannock. Okay.
Yeah, so it's that way.
Thanks, Karen.
Let me pull up my maps.
So, horns. Why do some cows have horns and some don't?
Just genetics.
Oh, okay.
Nothing, no rhyme or reason.
Tell us about Agent 35.
She's the bomb diggity and the prettiest and the smartest, and she's going to live forever.
She's one of the cows with the genetic predisposition to warm up to humans for some reason.
Yeah, that she was right, because she was just a pick, one of the first heifers. Well, she wasn't a heifer, but no, she would have been a heifer. So she had.
Wait, is a heifer a pregnant cow?
No, it's a never, it's a virgin.
Oh, heifer's a virgin.
Yes.
Oh, so.
Well, actually, it's not a virgin, it's that she's never birthed.
Oh, okay. So wait. So a baby cow, what do you call a baby cow? A calf. And then what does it go to?
Well, then you decide if it's going to be a bull or a steer, and like we have the new ones that are coming, we have to sort them soon and decide. I want to pick 4 out of all the bulls that are going to be the next genetics. So they're in a couple of years going to be the new daddies taking over from these Wagyu daddies.
So how do you determine who's going to be the genetics? With horses, it's about by like the conformation, which is like the body and then how much sperm they give, those kinds of things.
Well, in this case, because the Wagyu are all registered, and so we know who the daddies are and the mamas, so we would first look at their own genetics and then decide who looks the best, because you could have the best mom and dad and still not be, you could have all the recessive genes and be small or whatever. And so it's also Lindsay, because he knows everything, and so he's like, okay, now look at the breadth, look at the
conformation. Yeah.
What do you mean by conformation?
The form, exactly what she's saying.
Form.
Yep.
Okay.
Like their structure, their stature, how they move, making sure they don't have any like knee issues or hip issues. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and like how active they are they crazy?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Very cool. So you got to pick 4 of those to be the next generation.
Correct.
What's your pipeline?
What's my pipeline?
Yeah, so you get these fats, right? You have these fats, these cattle that are almost ready to go to slaughter.
We're different because we're not a cow-calf operation. So most of the farms around here, and actually they're just very common, are cow-calf operations, which is you raise them, you breed them, and you sell them. And you don't take them past, some people don't take them past weaning. Some people, like we just sold a herd, 70 of our full bloods, and they were just, they're all pregnant.
Full blood Wagyu or Angus?
Full blood Wagyu, 70 of them we sold, but they were all pregnant because the guy wanted pregnant cows.
So he's starting his own farm, right?
Right. So
he's not looking for something to slaughter and get meat from.
Well, he might be, sure.
Not near term, but...
Not near term, right?
To grow his herd.
Well, it depends on what he wants. Yeah, he could either grow the herd, or he could have after the calves are born, within 2 years, slaughter them. So that could be, an immediate cash if he wanted to slaughter all, 70, 2-year-olds at that point, 2 to 3. You don't want to go past 3. You don't want to go past 30 months.
Why?
Because then it's more expensive, because the government says that that cows...
A non-disclosed organization.
And a non-disclosed organization says that cows over 30 months have to have their spinal cord removed and all of that removed during the slaughter, so they have to take out all the bones. And they're already dead, dude. It's a dead cow.
Okay.
The problem is it costs a ton more money to slaughter it because of mad cow disease. We don't have mad cow disease anywhere here. It's silly, but it's really bad, and it doubles practically the cost of processing, which is already very expensive. Well, maybe not double, but a lot. And you can't get any slots around here.
Wow. So Virginia is full of slots. I mean,
no, there are no slots.
There are no slots. So what's the drive? Why aren't there any slots?
Because there are not enough processors, and the processors do the best they can to do as good of a job as they can with limited resources, I guess. It's the butchery is an art, and it's hard to find a processor that respects that aspect of the slaughter.
Wow.
Which is why we really want to eventually, in the hopefully near future, figure out our own mobile slaughter unit and then do our own processing, our own butchering, so that we are truly self-sufficient. And not only, I mean, it's mostly about being able to control your inventory from start to finish.
So it's literally like birth to table.
We are,
It's like a cradle to grave.
Yeah.
It is cradle to grave, and then for dinner, and you know.
But you know everything they eat. You know their breeding. You know everything about them. You know their treatment and how amazing they are.
And what their marbling's going to look like.
Yeah.
And the food that you feed them affects the marbling, and the longer you can, especially with Wagyu, because they're such an odd breed to actually raise, they take longer to get as finished as is ideal, so you have to factor that into the whole timing. And our calving season is year round, so that's another difference between us and just a regular cow-calf operation. It's usually just fall and spring.
How many times do cows go into heat?
They go once a month. They're just like people. It's weird.
Really?
Yes, because what you do is you have your open Angus. You have your open Angus.
That sounds naughty.
It does. In a field, and then you put the bull in, and then you keep that bull in for, let's say, 60 days. And so now you know that bull, when you're tracking the genetics, is the one that would be the daddy if you were, say, from January 1 to March 1. And then let's say you do your preg checks then, and there's one or two that are open. Some cow operations would say, okay, sell her, she's done. We have a couple of more cycles, not more than one or two, because then it's not a healthy cow.
Yeah.
So it's like you really do have to know every aspect on the live cow side, and then the steak side, that's the whole other aspect of the business, but that's not as fun.
How do you track all the cows? Like, how do you even know who's out there? Like the Highland and Agent 35, and because I walked up in the snowstorm on a meeting the other day, which was awesome. In my hat, they're like, "Where are you in Antarctica?" I'm like, kind of close.
Pretty much.
Yeah. And so I was hanging out with those guys. But how do you, especially when they're out there and just on hay, how do you even track where they are?
People like Lindsay train you how to look for things and how to watch them, and you use binoculars, and you'd go up there in the middle of the night, and like this storm, not the storm, but we have like a huge cold snap coming. It's going to be terrible, terrible. And so it's going to be critical to go up at, 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, God willing, not 2 or whatever, but to make sure that if there's any live births, which are 99.9% going to happen, because of the barometric pressure, Lindsay told me.
No kidding.
And it totally affects it. Like when it goes
Wow.
down,
when it's
the babies
high?
pop out. Or
down.
high, hello, I don't know, whatever it is. But he said it's changing.
It's changing. Go check it out.
Well, it's all. He's very direct, and he knows. I like, just tell me how it is. And so you got, in this case, we if anything is born live, we have to take it immediately to the barn.
Oh.
Not even try. It doesn't matter if the mama wants it or not. It's to get it out of the cold, and if you miss it, then it's bad.
Because they can't, the mama can't keep the calf alive in the cold weather?
Not at that cold. Not at that cold.
Can you engage the baby with the mom, like reinitiate that relationship, or is it too late at that point? Like later on?
Once it's on, I don't think we've ever tried, I don't think we've reinitiated. I don't know. I'm trying to think. We've had a lot of bottle feeders.
Yeah. That's my favorite thing.
They just go back out, huh?
That's my favorite thing.
I know, that's why I'm thinking we should keep that one bottle.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Just not just as a pet, but as a bottle feeder.
Well, as an educational tool. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But it'd be fun. Guy Thorpe was horrified at the picture of a big cow sucking off a bottle.
Oh, but it's so cute.
Oh, because he's a real cattleman.
Well, what do real cattlemen do then?
You wean the calf, and you can cold turkey wean them, or you can do it like we are, which is, painfully slow because we all don't have baby children anymore, and our children are horrible 15-year-olds that talk back to us. And so feeding the baby calf, even though it gives us, it's rewarding. So.
It was pretty amazing, I gotta tell you.
See? Oh, Lord. Sorry.
Well, how many calves are born here each year, do you think?
It depends on how many cows.
Yeah, I know it depends on average.
No, but we just had 60 calves in the last. So roughly. Do you hear that?
Yes, your dogs are crying.
So somewhere around 120-ish, 150.
Oh, really? Wow. Okay.
Well, because if there's 2 to 3, I'm just thinking of the most recent was the 63 and 60 births. So.
Okay.
And that was just one batch, if you will.
Cindy said you had somewhere around 100 head of cattle right now?
That we fed.
Do you know one thing Lindsay taught me?
What?
This is not anything to you. I'm just laughing. It pops into my head. I asked Lindsay and his apprentice now, what is it? The butterfly goes from the cocoon and now the teacher's a teacher or something. Whatever. His apprentice is now like this expert cattle guy. So both of them together are helping teach and take care of things and all that here. And
that's so amazing that you have that mentorship. I just want to say that.
Oh my God, you don't even know how. This farm would be gone without those two. Well, Lindsay, and then Pete jumped in big time. So, but you never ask a man how many cattle you have. Nope. And they were totally serious in the trucks. I'm like, how many head of cattle do you have? They're like, Karen, you never ask a man how many head of cattle he has. It's like asking how many. It's like asking a man how much money he has in the bank.
No
and I don't
kidding.
have a problem with that either.
There's James. Yeah. And then there's James.
Full transparency.
Let's talk about it.
I just thought that was fascinating.
That is. It's a very different culture.
Yeah. And
how was it being a woman breaking into that culture?
Well, it's actually awesome because I think if you are, I introduced myself to this culture by seeing Afterbirth for the first time and throwing up in front of the cowboys. And then the second introduction was I was so excited because I was going to really get to help sort them myself, between the big and the little in the middle. I walk down the hill to shake his hand, a new cowboy, and I wipe out and I just slide on my ass all the way down. So I'm looking up at him
in true way fashion.
And then he reminded me I threw up in front of him the first time I had met him several years prior. So yeah.
Has it gotten easier? Has it gotten easier?
Yes. Well, because it's gone from being throwing up at the site of Afterbirth to trying to prepare to reach my arm up into a cow and twist the baby so I can get the damn leg unhinged and then go pull it out.
Okay, so how did you, this is like a dramatic change. How did you change your mindset to be able to do these things?
Sometimes you just find yourself in a different career than you would have ever anticipated. And it just so happens that it was fortunate. Because the time I had spent here prior to actually farming, I rode my cows, I played with my cows, so I knew my cows anyway. but now it's just a different. Now it's just the business side. In addition.
Hey, so being a Chicago attorney to working on a farm as a cow herder, what do you enjoy more?
What?
What from being a Chicago attorney to being a cow
this
person?
Is bloody phenomenal, but I don't think I would be as good. Not that I'm good, but I don't think I don't think I would be able to even contemplate managing something this large without having been in that environment, because it's so many facets, like we were saying, from making sure that we're in time to grow the clover, we're doing the broadcasting and what seed and ordering the seed, and by the way, don't forget to order the feed the cows, and by the way, they need an order downtown by 2:00, but the feed truck's coming and we got to do a sales call. So I mean, it's literally, it's every facet of a farm and a business, and as the business expands into other arenas, if we could do events, which would be nice.
And you want to do corporate and weddings and those kinds of events?
Yeah, definitely, because our friends and family that have had weddings, and we've had oodles of private events. It's been perfect. It's been a lot of fun, and so that would be good to make some money on that.
And there's
buy more cows.
Yeah, and you have a beautiful house here that when was it built?
Late 1700s, early 1800s, and then the cabin up front that we're restoring now, that was mid 1700s, as was. This was the cabin in the back where George Washington stayed while surveying the area in Culpeper, Clark County, and Fauquier County, obviously, as evidenced by his journal entries that I do have a copy of, referencing this area. And I'm excited to metal detect. Now that's going to be a gem.
That's going to be amazing.
The property we just acquired is part of the original 2,000-acre estate that was split off, subdivided up in the 20s, and then we reassembled in 2007, 700 of the acres, and then a few months ago we acquired the parcel across the street, reassembling it then another 64 acres of the prime grazing land.
Wow.
So that just made life so wonderful, because hay is expensive, and this is free food.
Yeah.
And so you want good grass, and we're going to obviously put lots of yummy clover in it, and so that's really helpful, because as large as the property is, it's limited grazing land and it's hilly, so it's all sorts of other challenges other than just worrying about the. I don't know. I was gonna say, pick one. I don't know. But anyways,
what do you do to encourage the pasture growth? Have a rich pasture for them to munch on.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what we're working on right now, is getting ready, because I just came in the September, so anything, I wasn't part of the fall kind of fertilization, winter prep, but so for the spring we'll be, we're starting to broadcast clover, and from there we're going to be doing soil samples to see what other type of fertilizer we might want to use, because I like the chicken shit model, but that takes a couple of years to really kick in, and we haven't done that in a few years, in too many years, and so now it's kind of like starting over with the chicken shit cycle. But then finding a commercial fertilizer that still stays true to our organic and natural approach, and I don't even know if that exists, in terms of, and it may be just suck it up and deal with the time lag on the chicken shit, but chicken shit is the way to go. It is not cheap.
So chicken shit is something you have to purchase. You don't have enough.
I tried to figure this out, if we could have a mobile chicken unit.
Yeah.
Right, because I know
that would make so much sense.
I guess one of the gurus of farming around here, he's down south, and I'm blanking on his name. It's from the book that, if you haven't Did you read The Omnivore's Dilemma?
No.
Oh, dude. It's
The Omnivore's Dilemma?
Inspired my likingness of this place, because then I got to do a presentation at my godniece's school in Baltimore, and they had read the book, and they're
Michael Pollan?
Right.
Michael Pollan? The
Omnivore's Dilemma. Yes.
Okay.
That is
cool.
What,
good book recommendation there.
Oh, it is key, and it's, obviously some parts of it are a little floofier side of. Well, anyways, just read the book.
Well, these kids read it too, and so when you were talking,
these are really smart kids, but
yeah,
they are anxious now to come to the farm, like we were talking about other classes that we brought out here to do soil samples from, my son's school, and do soil samples, see the cows, aside from just like the parties that we have for the school, but it's also like a science spin-off. And what I wanted to do was try to integrate a program linking in the economic development program for the city of Marshall that was supposed to be working with my son's school, and then tie it in so this would become sort of the living laboratory for an economic development project, showing how literally start to finish and how your community can be fed, infrastructure to support the community, the relationship between the different types of businesses, and
people would understand where their food comes from, because people don't get that.
Oh, when you read this is why I care so much about those damn ear tags, and you were asking me how do you know who's who or something.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, you do get these ear tags. You can either you can tattoo them, or you can brand them, or you can cold brand them. And cold brand.
Do they have like microchips?
Well, you get. Yeah. Do you know how hard it is to go up and read a bull's microchip? That's what is a great idea. And so they have like a chip they put in their ear.
Well, like even for dogs, they have like low tag.
Yes, but then you wand them and it gives you all the information.
Does that go into like a website where you can like look at a map and see where everybody is?
Not a GPS. It is not.
Because for dogs they have that. So you think for cows they
cows. I don't know, but
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
but yeah. So that's how you track them, the ear tags and this EID system, so that they actually, especially when you're trying to track the genetics and keep up with who's the daddy and all that, it's critical to have tracking.
So you said the ear tags are really important, and what's the critical piece? And you said this book helped you understand why that's so critical.
Oh,
if you didn't interrupt her.
Sorry.
People want to know where their meat comes from, and they want to know that when they eat their hamburger, is it coming from 55 different cows, or is it coming from one cow? Or let's say 2 cows. And what cows are they? Well, I can tell you what cows they are. Well, what did they eat? They had this. What did they, how are they slaughtered? I can tell you everything about your meal. And
wow.
That's important if you care about clean food, which is what that's about.
Yeah, which goes back to the fertilizer, because the fertilizer for
so that's a challenge.
The food,
and
what you're growing is really important.
And it is, I know organic farmers, the capital O organic farmer does it. It's a very expensive proposition to be a capital O organic farmer.
Well, especially because you said you had historic properties on your property.
Well, that's the issue. Yeah, we can do everything organic. We have organic food. We have organic pastures. Everything is natural.
They're free range.
It's complete. But because we're a historic farm, there are things, whether it's the type of fencing or the pressure treat, the history of the type of fencing, that we can't change without, first of all, crushing the historic nature. And even if we could replicate it as one of a neighboring farm has done, the farmer had the resources to go through an incredible certification process. So she's able to sell her food as capital O organic, which is huge. But not most farmers can't afford that, and it's too rigorous. You're trying to raise your cattle, and you're doing all the organic things without being able to certify because of other irrelevant criteria that you must meet. And Capital O Organic doesn't take into account necessarily the humane treatment of your cattle, unlike GAP certification, which we are eligible for and are pursuing, which is also contemplates how the animal is treated, the conditions under which it's raised. So basically, if you get a GAP certified steak, you know that cow had an amazing life, and as my partner Melissa said, as my partner Melissa says, the only bad day that cow had was its last, and that's after its last meal. So, kind of, so to speak. But yeah, so it's that's the perspective, is that you want everything clean, traceable, and that's what the foundation, and for the community, that's the key. That is that's why, I mean, and that's what I said, that's what the key to me is on the whole thing, and that's what I said on my first social media post.
Proud.
I know, I was like, this is what we stand for as of September 1, 2020.
Karen, tell us how many pounds you donated.
How many pounds of beef, right?
Oh God, we're well over. Well, beef and pork, but mostly beef. We've well over 10,000 at this point.
Donated.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it's funny.
Because you believe in community.
Exactly, and I was trying to go. So I was starting obviously super local with my backyard.
Yeah.
And the counties that I'm in and the ones surrounding it, and then we went a little bit bigger, and I even reached out to. Now I'm blanking on his darn name. The famous chef who's doing the huge... I sent you a LinkedIn. Ping me back. You know who you are.
Tell us his name. We'll tag him in the
list. But I don't think he must have thought I was...
Not Gordon Ramsay.
I don't think he thought I was...
Gordon Ramsay's all I know.
No. Everybody knows his name, and I'm just drawing a blank. He's in... His headquarters in D.C. He, during COVID, got really ramped up and went all around and started making sure that restaurant employees that could help cook, since they were unemployed, would cook food that was left over from, because nobody could eat, not leftover, but still in the freezers, had to be used or was going to spoil. And so he started this huge organization that I'm completely blanking on its name. But
Jose Andres?
Yes.
Okay.
But I actually was more pleased with the group we ended up hooking up with, which was kind of, I could say, a mini version of what they do, and that's Old School Kitchen. And Chef Clark is amazing. He takes food from donated food, and we try to get there at least once a month, and they make pre-cooked meals for families, and they do like 400 meals a week. So it's right there in our backyard. It's helping people, and because the food banks were running really low, especially during the COVID times, and that's why we were like, okay, this is, and granted, September, things were calming down a little bit, but the whole point is they were still empty, and it was still, one of the ladies said the glitz of donating had faded by summer. Because apparently everybody, when it was easy to donate at the beginning of COVID, when they shut down restaurants and they shut down this and that, everybody was very enthusiastic, but then it dwindled. And by the way, people are still unemployed and hungry.
Yeah. And it's getting worse.
And kids are at school. So the beautiful thing about the fakir fish, it's a food bank, but also food. It's fish, fakir fish, and we worked with them over the holidays in particular, and prior to that, they serve a tremendous number of people in Fauquier County, and we're really happy to be helping out with a lot of their food because they hit the kids. They make sure that these kids are fed, and they pick up the kids come, they pick up like their box of food for the week, what their lunches would be at school, and they take them home, and that's what this organization in part does.
So this is replacing the kids who literally have maybe one meal a day at school.
Correct.
And who aren't in school anymore have an opportunity to still eat their one meal a day that they...
Yeah, their one meal a day, and the only meal that they would get all of a sudden they weren't going to get.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so important. And it was good because my son's school participated, and it definitely the idea of linking the schools with the farm and the community really came through on that one. Mm-hmm. And so that was good. That was very, very positive. And but then the smaller food banks, like in Rappahannock, that was awesome because they needed a lot of food, and they're right here.
Yeah.
So it's like, Dr. Laird, he's good. He takes care of those people. So it's been a good relationship, and that's been the fun part.
So what is one piece of advice you would give to somebody who has this dream of being a ranch owner? Like, I want to be a ranch owner. Like, what advice would you give them? Start small and start small. And what is small?
You know what? After feeding today, I was thinking about that. I'm like, what would be like 20
cows.
20 cows would be a large enough. I know I don't know if that means breeding them or whatnot, but 20 would be more than manageable.
For one person.
For one person on a smaller ranch, but know your shit before you jump in, because you gotta. This is not just they're a cute little cow. These things get sick and it's terrible, or they give birth and something. They're real live not humans, but like real life critters, and there has to be a respect that they get to eat grass and be doted on, and you make them healthy, and then they give you back income and paycheck, as Pete is fond of saying. You got to give me a paycheck once a year, either with a calf or with your hide. So that's the business side of the whole thing.
How many acres do you need per cow?
Oh God, Google that. And it also depends on your grass. Yeah, because I'm thinking, because this is the first question I started asking, because I'm trying to figure out how much grazing land do I need. And yes, there's all these stock answers, but it just depends on what the environment. Like I'm putting 47 cows on this 69 acres. That's pretty tight.
Yeah.
So that's going to be more of a kind of a holding to spread out.
Is that enough for 1 year? Feeding them for 1 year? 64 acres for those 47 cows?
Oh my God, no.
No? Okay.
Oh my God, they go through. We did this temporary pasture right here, and it's probably 30 acres. Maybe 25 acres? 25, 30 acres. And they plowed through it in a week. Wow! This grass was real short.
And how many cows were in there?
The mamas and babies. The mamas.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and so we're going to graze. I'm going to do a temporary fence up front in an area that's just been a hayfield, but it's not bad. There's enough grass I can get like another week's food out of it.
Yeah.
And then you do the cost-benefit analysis of how much does it cost to erect a temporary fence. A temporary electric fence because it's near the road, a temporary,
Yeah.
in order to get one more week out that you don't have to buy hay, because it's right now if you're lucky, it's $35 a bale, but more like $40 to $45 a bale.
I'm starting to see the complex. I mean, this is really calculus here that you're trying to figure out. Because the only reason you're feeding now is because of winter, but then when you've got some clover, you don't need to manually feed them, right?
Or do they still need grain?
No. Because of our operation, we still do grain.
So that's year round? That's a year round thing?
Well, it depends on where you are in life, but we always will be feeding grain because we have the babies and then we have the fats.
Oh, where they are in the life cycle. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it just kind of depends.
So not all the cows get grain, but the cows who are in a specific lifestyle get grain.
All cows get grass 100% of the time.
Yep.
Well, except for a short period of time in the end, like a week. But then they get grain during certain periods of their lives. Right.
Okay. So grain will always be available at the farm depending on how old you are and what's happening. Okay.
Yeah. that's where you get into, like, for example, Wagyu require a higher protein feed than a regular Angus.
Really? Why is that?
Just because of their stuff.
No kidding.
They take they take longer to gain weight. They're smaller. They take longer. All that, and then they also need more protein. And so, like, when you do, like, we have our own custom recipe, and so that you have to take into account in the recipe what breed they are, and then any specific nuances to make sure you're trying to help them grow as well as possible and consistently as possible, because you also don't want, like, big, low, you can't go all over the place. That's not healthy. So you've really got to maintain. You got to know their weights. You got to know your cows. So even if, so that if they sneeze, you understand
why they sneezed.
Yes, it's a good sneeze or a bad sneeze.
You don't keep logs of all the cattle? Anyway.
Why, yes, we do. Yeah.
What part of the business do you like the most? Do you like the business aspect of it, the overall business, the management aspect, or the technical aspect of dealing with the animals and managing
I like
them?
the cows.
You like
I like the cows, and now I like the cowboys and cowgirls because they're very cool, and they're that's the thing.
Tell us about your experience riding the horse and herding.
I'm really good.
I believe it.
And Pete needs me to help him.
Obviously.
He's so kind. Like, he brings an extra horse so I can help.
Who's Pete?
Pete is the protege to Lindsay, who now, what is it, the grasshopper now is the teacher?
Yeah.
Oh, grasshopper. Kung Fu.
So now he comes over.
The mentee is now the mentor.
Yes.
Yeah, the mentee's
the
now
hero's
the mentor.
journey.
And so Pete does all of his work on horse. And so he'll bring an extra horse for me to work with him. And his wife, Kristen, who is just this kick-ass, little tiny thing, and tough as shit, and just no-nonsense cowgirl. And so, and she, oh my God, it's just like, when I first met her, I made such an ass out of myself because I was like, oh my God, you're like Xena Princess Warrior. And she's this big, she's this little munchkin thing. And, I mean, not that I'm enamored with you, but it just went down, but she was very
so
patient.
Cool.
That's exactly right.
It's a way girl thing.
Oh my God. She didn't say much that first meeting. And then I think she realized it was sincere, and I wasn't too scary.
And you've ridden horses in the past, so it wasn't like brand new.
Oh no, but they do this every day for work.
Yeah.
And when they have time off to play, they practice roping and do rodeo stuff. Like, it is a 24/7 mentality.
Wow.
That's why if it were, it would be cool if you could just play with your cows all day.